This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Today, Donald Trump is found guilty on all counts, there's a historic election result in South Africa, and the US allows Ukraine to use American weapons to strike inside Russia. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday the 31st of May, 2024. Yesterday, Donald Trump became the first president or former president in US history to be convicted of a felony charge on any federal or state level. Trump was found guilty on 34 counts of falsifying business records. These records were connected to a 2016 hush money payment towards adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential election. The reason for paying off Daniels was the fear that if the affair between her and Trump in 2006 was made public, it could harm Trump's election chances in the 2016 election. Trump has been found guilty of classifying payments towards his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, as legal expenses, when, in actuality, they were for reimbursing Cohen after he paid off Daniels using his own funds. Now, many people in Trump's camp had hoped for a hung jury, which, under New York state law, can happen even if one juror refuses to go along on an otherwise unanimous verdict. However, with the speed of the verdict, the odds of that happening seem to be very slim. After the decision, Trump stated to the press that it was a rigged trial, pushed by the Biden administration, and said that the real verdict would be delivered on Election Day. Many of Trump's operatives and allies have also pushed this notion, doubting the motives of the prosecution and the overall seriousness of the case. Nevertheless, sentencing for Trump will happen on July the 11th, just days before the Republican National Convention. The question of whether Trump will serve a day in prison remains a very open one. Previous convictions under these charges have seen only fines and sentences of probation. However, it should be noted that the felony Trump was convicted of carries a maximum of 4 years, and the number of counts could tilt it towards the harsher side. In any case, though, Trump is unlikely to be imprisoned before the election in November. As in New York, convicts can only begin their sentence once all appeal options have been exhausted. This is likely not going to be resolved by the end of 2024, leaving Trump with the ability to campaign without issue, though he has several other legal cases to contend with. However, the political ramifications have the chance to be massive. Donald Trump has held the edge in the polling over President Joe Biden. However, many polls asking voters who they'd support if Trump was convicted of a crime shows Biden with the edge. In an election that's likely going to be razor thin, a 1 to 2 point swing can make all the difference, and this will likely make the 2024 election only more volatile. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing next week. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Hugo Silva, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. We have an update from the South African election now, as the ruling African National Congress, or ANC, is set to lose its majority for the first time in 30 years, having run the country continuously since the end of apartheid. Now, with results from just over half of all polling stations, the ANC is on course to remain the largest party, with around 42% of the vote. But falling below 50% means the party will need to seek out a coalition partner or partners in order to stay in government. The partial results show a strong showing for the main opposition Democratic Alliance, currently at around 23%. Meanwhile, the MK party, led by ex-President Jacob Zuma, is on 10.8% and has eaten into the ANC's support, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Falling from 3rd to 4th place, according to the results, is the radical far-left Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF, on 9.6%. Now, there's a number of reasons for the ANC's expected decline: high unemployment and persistent inequality, power cuts and water shortages, allegations of corruption, and also the simple fact that as time passes since the ANC led the fight against apartheid's white minority rule, younger South Africans just don't have the same loyalty to the party as the older generations do. The big question now is, who will the ANC go into coalition with? Well, it will likely be one of the three parties we just mentioned, but all options are contentious for different reasons. We'll explore the potential outcomes in a video over on TLDR Global that's coming out on Saturday morning. The Biden administration has quietly partially lifted a ban on Ukraine using American weaponry to strike inside Russia, according to reports citing US officials. Previously, the US had not allowed Ukrainian forces to use weaponry provided by the US to strike inside Russian soil, limiting their use to the battlefields in Ukraine. The US was one of the last holdouts of this policy, as other allies, including France, Germany, and the UK, had signalled that they were open to lifting the restrictions on the use of their weapons, following calls for said action by Ukrainian officials. The new US policy is not a total lifting of restrictions, though. Instead, the US is offering Ukraine flexibility to use its weapons, in the words of one official, for counterfire purposes in the Kharkiv region, so Ukraine can hit back against Russian forces that are attacking them or preparing to attack them. This means, according to Politico, that Ukraine can use American weaponry to shoot down launched Russian missiles heading towards Kharkiv, at troops massing just over the Russian border near the city, or Russian bombers launching bombs towards Ukrainian territory. But there are still restrictions. For example, the US continues to prohibit Ukraine from using said weapons to strike civilian targets, or using long-range missiles to hit military targets deep inside Russia. Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico has been released from hospital and moved to home care as he continues to recover from an assassination attempt carried out 2 weeks ago. 59-year-old Fico was shot at close range with 4 bullets on May the 15th, as he greeted supporters following a government meeting in the town of Handlova. The hospital said his progress so far was satisfactory, but Deputy Prime Minister Robert Kalinak said that Fico's recovery would still be extremely long. The suspected attacker, named as 71-year-old Juraj Cintula, remains in custody charged with attempted murder. Fico returned to power last October, having previously served as Prime Minister from 2006 to 2010 and from 2012 to 2018. A contentious figure, he now leads a populist nationalist coalition in a country that's becoming increasingly polarized. His government has ended military aid to Ukraine and sought to soften the punishment for corruption. And since the assassination attempt, the government has sought to tighten media rules, with the proposed introduction of a right to a correction that would require media, when challenged, to change allegedly untrue statements that impugn the applicant's honour, dignity, or good reputation. And finally, to end with some uplifting news, the James Webb Space Telescope has broken its own record by detecting the oldest and most distant galaxy ever observed. The telescope, launched in 2021 and in orbit around the Sun, discovered the galaxy known as JADES GS Z14-0. Because of the galaxy's vast distance from our solar system, it's being observed as it was around 290 million years after the Big Bang, meaning we are seeing it when the cosmos was just 2% of its current age. And the light reaching the telescope has been travelling for some 13.5 billion years.
When making videos like this, we rely on tons of data analysis to interpret crucial economic data and understand political decisions. But this kind of analysis isn't just crucial for our jobs. As the world becomes more driven by AI and data, your job will likely require more analytical skills too. And that's why we've been using Brilliant. Brilliant is the STEM learning platform that can teach you all the skills you need in an increasingly digital workplace. They've just introduced a whole collection of new programming and LLM courses, suitable for learners at any level, taking you through everything from learning Python to understanding the importance of training data. And Brilliant isn't just about memorization and lectures. Brilliant teaches you by doing, using active learning techniques to teach you the principles behind otherwise quite complex topics, and ensuring that you actually understand what's going on, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. Now, all of Brilliant's courses are split into easy-to-digest chunks, meaning that you can quickly and easily gain a real knowledge in just a few minutes a day, with fun lessons that you can do whenever you have time, replacing mindless scrolling on the bus or waiting for coffee with something stimulating and rewarding. To gain access to Brilliant for a full 30 days, head to brilliant.org/TLDR or click the link in the description. That way, you'll get 20% off an annual premium subscription, and they'll know that you came from us, which really helps us out. So thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and thanks to you for your support.